the debate that is worth having, what is worth fighting for, worth a discussion or new legislation, is the way we teach in our schools, the way we empower veterinary technicians versus threatening them, making them feel stuck when it really just grinds my gears and I get heated about what we can actually do outside the clinic, the ways we can help, the way we can serve, the way we can educate without the four walls. In school, like I said, it's pounded in our heads that we can't do anything without a BBM.
Hi, guys, and welcome to the House Call Vet Cafe podcast. I'm Dr. Eve Harrison. I'm a full-time integrative concierge house call veterinarian in Los Angeles, and I help other vets to build their unique mobile practices on their terms. This podcast is for and by house call and mobile veterinarians, so it is meant to give our community a platform to connect, to share our stories, to lift each other up, and to support each other. Most of us work solo as lone wolves, right? So for me, it's been really powerful to be able to physically hear the voices of my colleagues from all over the world and to get a chance to feel that we truly are part of a community of very real other human beings who get it. While you may be alone in that little bubble of your own vehicle when you're on the road seeing patients, I welcome you to join our community by tuning into our own podcast when you're on your way to your next house call. Whether you're a super experienced house call vet with 30 years of experience, you're a brand new prospective house call vet just looking to get started, or you're house call curious, there will be something for you in this podcast. Each episode, you will hear interviews from other mobile veterinarians just like yourself who are doing unique and innovative things, vets who are sharing their stories, their struggles and challenges, and you can also look forward to hearing valuable information and perspectives from specialists and experts outside of our micro niche. And finally, if becoming a house call veterinarian is something that you've been thinking about exploring, or you're looking for some extra support getting your own mobile practice to feel more profitable and sustainable for you, check out the information in the show notes about my course and our above and beyond supportive private community for members only, plus our monthly group coaching sessions within the House Call Vet Academy. You can also check out my free public Facebook group, which is also called the House Call Vet Cafe, the same name as this podcast, and which is a warm and cozy community for mobile vets to support each other in professional and personal development, in creative entrepreneurship, and in friendship. So thank you guys for spending time with me today. Let's dive into the episode. Okay, everyone, we have a phenomenal guest today. We have the amazing Serena Pudelski, who is a registered veterinary technician in the state of Ohio, where she graduated Tri-C in Parma in 2009. She is a wife, a mother, a vet tech, business coach for RVTs, and a serial business owner. Sounds familiar. Serena has 4 dogs, cats, 1 bird, a frog, a snake, and a bearded dragon, and has grown up caring for animals since she was little. Serena is a passionate advocate for animals, for veterinary technicians, and for change in the veterinary field as a whole. Serena's goal is to make others think outside the box and challenge old ways of thinking by trailblazing new ways of doing things in her life and in her business. Serena is the owner and founder of the Vet Tech Society, as well as an online course teaching vet techs how to start their own businesses. We're like kind of the alternate reality versions of each other, right?
Absolutely.
Nodding. And being a pet consultant strategist, she discusses a vast array of information, everything from routine care, surgical procedures, tech questions, and more. Bringing digital pet care courses into the pet care space is something she has introduced in order to make care for animals accessible, even though many changes have occurred since the beginning of 2020. Serena believes that having an RVT helping educate pet parents makes them feel confident that they're doing their best to help their pets. So, Serena, you are a cherished friend and colleague. And I mean, I say this from time to time, but it was just a matter of time before our alternate realities like collided. You know, we're doing such similar things in our own ways, and you personally helped me get through some really tough stuff. So I wanted to thank you for that, and I wanted to welcome you to the show. I'm excited you're here. For anyone that doesn't know, Serena is one of the most badasses that I know. So I also wanted to thank Rachel Anderson for introducing us. So welcome to the show, Serena. I love that you're here. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's an honor to be your friend. It's an honor to know you. It's an honor to be on this podcast with you and enjoying all of the ups and downs of business ownership with you. And just, it's a wild ride when you're, trailblazing a path for yourself and for other people. and there's bumps in the road, but having other people going on the same journey as you, it just makes it that much more fun, just to grow the whole practice, to grab, the whole shebang.
The whole shebang. Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's been really awesome having someone on that same trailblazing path. So I wanted to start out by asking, as you are careening down that path that you're driving down in trailblazing, and when you're on your way to your patients, what is it that you snack on at the car?
My favorite snacks are probably just like the chocolate nut bars with like the dark chocolate and the almonds. Those are my favorite. Or Swiss cake rolls.
What was it, Swiss cake rolls?
Yeah, huh?
Oh,
Little Debbie's. I'm a big Little
okay.
Debbie fan. Hmm.
All right, those are pretty solid snacks right there, especially the dark chocolate. I'm all about it.
Absolutely.
So, can you tell me a little bit about how you became a house call vet tech and what your journey was like getting there?
So I started in research for the first 3 years of my career, and then I moved into private practice, which is a completely different ballgame from what I was used to. And one day we had this dog come in for just like a nail trim, regular tech appointment. But it was pretty clear that it took 4 of us to get his nails done. It was a big shepherd. He was nervous. The owner was just defensive on, just in defense mode to be suggested meds, and she didn't want to do that. So I said, well, why can't someone just bring this into their home? So I had this idea and I'm like, why can't someone just go to their house, trim his nails, and have the owner just hold and make it easier for them? So I was just noodling this idea for a little while. And it was actually in the midst of me trying to think of like, maybe I don't want to be in the veterinary field anymore because it's just long hours and I'm just not making enough money. But maybe I should just do something else. But I actually had an interview for an insurance company to sell insurance door to door. And I'm like, this is stupid. I don't want to sell insurance. I don't want anything to do with insurance.
Yeah.
But they were promising like all of this big money and all of the cars and all of the things, but you're doing door to door sales selling insurance. I'm like, I don't want anything to do with that. But I'm a vet tech. What if I do this for people door to door and do house calls and help them in their homes with their animals? So that's where the idea kind of started. So in 2016, I kind of just jumped in. I'm like, I'm going to do this thing. I brought this big business plan to my boss. He was the owner of the practice. He's been a DBM since, oh God, I don't even know. He bought the practice in 1986, which is the year I was born. So he was kind of like my grandpa. He's been around the block a few times. So I said, Doc, this is what I want to do. This is my plan. I want to bring check appointments into people's homes. It kind of just started from there. And he's like, that's a great idea. I wish a lot of people did this thing for other people. So like, you have my blessing. You can tell whoever you want. I said, oh, all right. Okay then. So it kind of just started really, really small. My first year in business between May and December, I only made like $1,000. So I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about websites. I didn't know anything about talking to people. I was a very introverted person.
Really? I
And
don't Yeah, you're not an introverted person.
uh, I was very quiet. I did what I was told. I kept my head down. I was just scared to like say opinions and things. So everything got squished in the clinic setting.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it was just Serena has ideas, but Serena has to keep them to herself. So I really didn't talk much to the people that were there. I mean, I was friendly with everybody, but changes were not something people were good at.
No.
To work. So it kind of started just as a part-time gig for a couple of years. And then I found my first business coach because now I was working 7 days a week for the last 2 years. I had a 2-year-old and I'm like, I don't really see him anymore because I'm working all the time. There's got to be an easier way. So I was scrolling through Facebook and I had an ad pop up for the Free Mama movement, which is actually a freelancing lady who shows moms how to work from home. And I said, okay, well, I watched her free training. I looked at her course and I'm like, that's kind of cool. I can work from home, still do my pet care business, but maybe leave the clinic so I can be home more and see my kid grow up. So I got her course. It was $1,000. It was like the biggest investment I've ever done, short of school. And I almost peed my pants. Um, but I'm like, well, this is next for me because this is what I want to do. So I took her course. I practiced everything that she was teaching us, through the modules in my pet care business. So within 3 months, I actually doubled my income. Within 7 months, I tripled my income. And it was just an amazing thing to just see and experience. And then it was just more consistent. And then I'm like, well, this could work. I could do this. So I took her course in 2 weeks. I did all the things. And then I lost my childcare.
Oh,
I
shit.
lost my childcare. I had to try to work part time. I tried working part time for like 2 weeks and I'm like, I can't do this. So I left the clinic because I just didn't have any other options. And I jumped into my business full time. And when I did that, it escalated my business tenfold. I added like 25 new clients within the first 2 months. I had my first 3 retainer clients that I started doing, and it was more consistency. It was more clients. It was the best of both worlds, right? So once it became more consistent, I said, I need to teach people how to do this. Since people are saying, well, how are you being a solo RVT? I have all of these ideas. I don't know how to get this out of my brain. So my business coach was like, well, I'm doing another course. We're doing like an accelerator. And I said, well, this is my idea of what I want to do. Because her thing was how people in business want to build a movement or how to build a bigger impact through helping more people. I said, well, that's perfect for me because I want to free all the RVTs who want to leave a clinic setting. So I took her course again and invested again and was scared again. But it took me 100 days, me 100 hours to build a course on top of coaching baseball, on top of having a 5-year-old, on top of bottle baby kitten that was getting fed every 30 minutes. It was the biggest summer of my life, the most stressful summer of my entire life, building all of the content, building all of the videos. But by the time I was done, I'm like, I just did that. I did
Yeah.
the first, like, and it was like starting to tell people, and it was real then because I'm like, I have this thing that I made and it's cool and it can help people. So that's kind of the whole path of like how it started.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that
Yeah.
story, and I love that your goal is to free the vet techs. Literally, I mean, oh, that is so spot on. That's what's in my heart too. I was like, "Oh my god, like, I have a thing that I can teach people." I mean, I've found freedom. How do I teach this so that,
Right.
like,
It, mhm.
yeah, and, like, I love that you needed to invest in order to grow. I think that's a really important thing that, folks who are doing big outside the box things really, like, catapult their businesses and what they're doing by working with
Yes.
someone who's experienced in that, and,
Mhm.
you're modeling what you teach, and I try to model what I teach. I have a coach too, and
Mhm.
I talk to you, and I consider you my side coach.
Yes.
You didn't know that, I guess.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I did not know that. Now I just feels like my heart's gonna burst.
Aw, yeah, I mean, like, we have each other's backs with that kinda thing, and we
Yeah,
kind of trained in it sort of an educational, way that's kind of simpler as to how to bring a big idea to life, right?
for sure.
And I love that your path and your journey, and I think what's really important is knowing that, like, as a parent, you needed to have this sort of free time. And I'm not saying parenting is free time. I mean free time from work, to be
Right.
to
Right.
and to watch your kid grow up, like you said. And I think that is a really important puzzle piece of what attracts people to house call practice, whether it's as a veterinarian
Mhm.
or as a vet tech, with their own business. I think I hear that so often that folks who are parenting need that flexibility to be able to be there as a parent.
Mhm.
And that's not very easy to do when you're working in a clinic, like you said.
Right. Right. It's very hard to leave at a set time. It's very hard to, not say yes to all of the emergencies that come in. And having boundaries in a clinic is basically non-existent. So
Exactly.
it's really hard when you have other people scheduling for you, say, hey, this dog is coming in. And now you're, 1 or 2 technicians that are the only ones in the practice. Now you are stuck there. And, I'm not saying that we have to free all of the vet techs because yes, they're needed in a clinic setting, but when you add the layer of parents to that aspect of things, it's like now I have other people that I'm responsible for. And when I was pregnant, there was no one in the clinic that ever had a kid. They're all younger than me or a couple that were older than me, but no one had kids. So they had no idea the level of responsibility that you add on to, not just having a dog or cat, but now you have a human life that you have to take care of. And I was, it was a lot.
Yeah, yeah, and that's, like, particularly challenging when you're surrounded by folks who don't have a clue. Like,
Mhm.
that's a whole other can of worms right there.
Right. Yep. Or if they call you when your kid's sick at school and someone has to leave and go get them. Like, well, I'm the default fairy because my husband also works too, but he works 45 minutes away and I'm 50 minutes from home. So it definitely added a layer of stress for that.
Yeah, and I mean, just hearing your story about it, like, how you were introverted, kept your head down, and, like, I know you are not that person anymore. You are fearless, you're a badass, you don't keep your head down at all, and I mean that in the absolute best way. I admire that so much about you, and I think it's really meaningful to know that, like, the clinic environment and some of these toxic places can make a person who is otherwise a trailblazer into a shrinking violet or,
Yes.
like
Yeah.
I've been there too. And like,
Mhm.
I've absolutely been there too. I've been not able to recognize myself in
For sure.
clinical environments. And I think it
Yeah,
happens to vets, it happens to vet techs. And,
for sure.
just like you are not that person that you just described,
Right.
So
Right. I've
it's,
also invested thousands of dollars in mindset coaches and business coaches. So
mm,
having that extra support too, because like, yes, the books are great, but you also need someone to bounce ideas off of, to have tough conversations with.
you accountable too.
Absolutely. My first mindset coach was the scariest thing I've ever done. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is what we're doing. And I noticed the pattern. And then once we started working together, I'm like, oh, wait, this is fun. I like doing this. This is cool. So it kind of just built momentum that I could just keep going on.
Mhm, mhm. I
So,
love that, and I think there's something also to be said about seeking help. Like, in the veterinary industry and profession, we have a problem with that. I think we like to seem like we know everything. We have it all together. We don't need help.
right.
And I think, for me, one of the best things I ever did was get some formal help. I
Hmm.
therapy, lots of therapy. I've
Yep.
had a number of coaches as well, and those coaches and therapy and guidance, like literally one-on-one, someone sitting with me with my problems and kind of helping me untangle the mess. And I think
Can't do it yourself.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't be the person I am today. And I'm hearing similar that, you got so much out of your mentors like that.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, we're pro coaching, pro mentoring, pro
Yes.
we're helping you need it. It's
Absolutely.
okay. It's safe to do that. And I think there's so much to be gleaned from, the world outside of the veterinary space. A little bit of that mindset work that can come from somewhere else, outside of that sort of incestuous veterinary scene.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh
So,
my goodness.
oh my goodness, is right. Who's that kitty there?
Crush is the baby one.
Oh,
My fat cheese is over there.
cheese and crushed.
Yep.
So, can you tell me about any challenges you've faced as a vet tech doing house calls and maybe as a vet tech teaching other people to start their own businesses? What sort of challenges and roadblocks have you encountered?
The biggest, so many people would think it's the teaching pet owners how to hold their own animal. That is the biggest thing of like, well, what do you do when you have to teach an owner how to hold their own animals? Because I work with all species, but that's not the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge that I've had over the last 3 years of doing this vet tech society movement is from fellow DVMs, it's from fellow veterinary technicians, because everyone has that mindset of a vet tech is doing everything illegally when they're out of a clinic.
Mm,
They think that if you're outside those four walls, you cannot do anything. So
mm,
that is the first question I get. What do you do about insurance? What do you do about liability? What do you do because you can't prescribe, you can't do all of these things?
mm,
And they don't realize, or in kid, they're like their mind is stuck in this like. And when you're in school, you're taught like you can't do anything without a DBM. You can't do this. You can't do that. So when people say, "Well, you're just doing things without, practicing medicine," I'm like, they all think it's just nail trims.
mm.
You guys realize the amount of services that I offer? It's not just nail trims. There's over 25 things I can teach you how to do as a solo RVT. So that's the biggest roadblock is other technicians.
Yeah, I believe that. I very much believe.
And showing them by example of like, this is what I'm doing. This is why it's legal. And not every student has the same rules that I do. Different states have different practice acts and things like that. So even saying that you're a veterinary technician to run your own business is illegal in some of my student states, which
Yeah.
has been a fun hurdle. So they have to advocate for themselves hardcore because rules are different. But
Right.
in Ohio, I called my licensing board. I had the director of my vet tech program who was also a lawyer. So I ran all of the ideas past her. I hired a lawyer to help with all of my forms. So this is something that I just didn't do willy nilly. This is something that took time and effort and a lot of money to invest in and grow because I knew that I would have some hurdles. I didn't realize that the entire veterinary community in the beginning would be so against people thinking outside the box. And that's been the biggest hurdle.
Oh, that is a that is a very real thing. I've had a number of folks also resistant to thinking outside the box as well. But I mean, as an RVT, the legal issues and the misconceptions and the folks that you can't, constant,
Yes.
nonstop. I know you get that. I see it. And we talked about it. That is a very real challenge, and I commend you and applaud you for working through that challenge and for helping other people to do the same. Like, I mean, that's the trailblazing right there, just feeling the fear and doing it anyway, or
Yes.
having the people, you know,
Pushing against the authority.
triple you and doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned you do 25 different things, and you recently posted a hilarious story that I was like rolling on the floor laughing how you wrote this out about a situation where you had to place a urinary catheter in a female dog. And,
Mhm.
it was a really interesting story because you got taken out of your comfort zone.
Oh, for sure.
You gave the client, this needs to be done this way. Like, these are the
Mhm.
legal ways. This is like the ethical thing. And,
Yes.
you set up the situation like just right. And you still ended up in a situation where you had to put a UCAT in a female dog in a kind of
Mhm.
situation. And I would just love to hear in your words, if you wouldn't mind telling that story again, because I was just like so blown away. I was like, damn, putting a UCAT in a female dog is very hard. That is not like something that you just, like, pop one in, unless you've been doing millions of them?
Right. Yeah. So I had this woman call me a couple months ago saying that her son was moving back to Ohio from Jordan. And my first thought was, okay, he lives down the street because there's a Jordan in my town.
Oh,
I didn't think of like overseas, Jordan in Saudi Arabia.
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, when is he, moving to Mentor? Because she was in Mentor. She's like, well, he has to get the passports and all the things and all of the exams for the dog. I'm like, oh, okay. So she was like, "Do you offer pet care?" So yes, I'm a veterinary technician. I've been a technician for 13 years. How can I help you? She's like, well, his dog is paralyzed. Okay. And what kind of care is she looking for? Well, her urinary catheter sometimes comes out and we have to get it placed back in. And we don't know how to navigate that over here in the States. Is it okay? Well, when he gets settled in, find a veterinarian. We can get her, an exam done. We can get some orders written up to get a urinary catheter, what size we need, what equipment do we need at home, and go through that whole procedure and have me some instructions. And then we can get that, moving. So in the interim of them moving into the States and them needing my services for the first time, the veterinarian's office that they chose called me and said, "Hey, they mentioned your name, but it's actually a clinic that I talk to regularly because I have so many clients that actually use them." She called me. She's like, "Is it something that you're comfortable doing? Is this something that you can do in their house?" Because they said that you're going to catheterize their dog. And I said, honestly, I've never done it before in someone's house. I've done it in clinic a few times many years ago, for like a cystotomy or, something to that nature. But I'm like, honestly, I've never done it in someone's home before. I've never done it blind, although I didn't even know there was a speculum. She's like, I can't supply you with a speculum, but if you think that you can do it, I'll write up the orders. I said, well, I will give it the college try, no promises, but as long as they have all of the equipment, I said, I don't bring anything. It's just me. So they have to have the catheter, they have to have all the equipment necessary, for the bag and like the collection and syringes and all of that.
Smart
Uh,
stuff, yeah, yeah.
so she's like, okay, I will write this up. I just wanted to make sure that this is something that you could even offer for them. I said, like I told them, there's a lot of things that could go wrong. I put that in the consent form of this is all the things that could go potentially wrong, but I'm going to try anyway. So the doctor said, okay, we'll write it up then. So the owner called me on Tuesday of this week. He's like, well, Hannah's catheter came out. We're going to need your services. I said, okay, what time did the catheter come out? 4 p.m. Okay. Okay. So now this is an emergent situation where I have to get there probably within the next couple hours so we can get her capped and comfortable.
I couldn't irrigate at all without the catheter.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So as I hang up the phone, I'm like, I'm panicking. So I'm like, I hope to God they have everything. I said, I'm watching a couple of YouTube videos just as a refresher, which were exactly what I needed because, I have to do it blind because I don't have a speculum. So I just kind of replayed the video in my brain while I was doing it. But when I got there, they had pretty much all of the equipment. They had multiple sizes of catheters. So I was just kind of doing it by visual, like how long it could go in, going over all the paperwork and stuff with that. But they were all very nice about it. They were just so appreciative of someone who was able to even try helping. So we set up everything out. We found an automated.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, for sure. I'm
Yeah,
like, well, we can try. If I can't get it, we'll have to go to the ER just because I
yeah,
don't have any other option. And I
right.
said, okay. So we're getting her situated. We found an ottoman that was just in her living room. I have to look over and I'm like, I'm going to use that. Is that okay? He's like, okay. He's like, I'm just putting up a couple towels on it so we can prop her up comfortably because she's a bigger golden retriever. So she's not small. So, the mom's there, the son's there, the husband's there, the wife's there. Like everyone's like, there's a bunch of people. Plus my kid's coming with me because
Yeah, you had your 8-year-old with you.
yeah, Noah's with me too. So like it's a party and they have two other dogs. The other dog's barking and it's like, okay, we're gonna control the situation. We'll get everything done, we'll get everything out and everything's ready. They had pretty much everything. The only thing that they didn't have was sterile water. So the mother got a bottle of like baby water from the drugstore because she went to the pharmacy just to get sterile water. Because they said, hey, make sure you guys have sterile water so I can fill the balloon because it's a fully catheter.
Right.
She's like, we don't have sterile water, but I can try to go get some. You need a prescription for sterile water.
Ah.
The vet clinic didn't remember that part of the story. So we did the whole thing. I used the baby water in a sterile syringe, filled up the balloon, and said, hey, for the next time we need to do this, we need to get sterile water prescription. We can get a bottle because we just need it.
Yep.
So I did it by feel. I did it with it because the guy was making a joke of like, the doctor does it and he times the time of himself. I said, well, you're not allowed to time it because it's the first time I'm doing it. So no pressure, but don't count.
I'm doing it in the home without a speculum. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they think the doctor could do it like 28 seconds. I'm like, okay, all right, well, let's see what happens. So they didn't tell me that they timed me, but I got it in 14 seconds, got the urine pouring out. So I was very proud of myself. So by the time the urine was all coming out, it filled up the balloon, it stopped flowing. So we got it hooked up to the leg bag and got her comfortable and all of the things. Maybe took about 4 minutes total to get everything situated. But I have to go in there confident and just like, yeah, I'm here to help you. But I honestly wanted to puke because everyone's staring at me. My kid's staring at me. And I'm like, this cannot go wrong. So it was a high pressure situation. And next time will be a lot easier because we know what to expect then. But that was a wild ride. That was a wild ride.
That's awesome. I'm so proud of you. And what a feeling to be able to, get that catheter back in and get that dog being able to pee again without them having to go to the ER. And,
Mhm.
I mean, that's a win in so many ways. Obviously for the family, financially, time-wise, for the dog, less stress for the dog. And then
For sure.
I mean, they're overwhelmed with life and death. If there's something that, they
Right.
don't need to be doing, keep that ER a little bit quieter if you
Right. Right. Yeah.
Like, I feel bad even saying the word quiet about an ER while not even being in the ER because, like, I just jinxed someone somewhere. But but I mean, that's just so cool. I mean, like, the skills that you have are, like, so underutilized, and I think, like, the fact that you could do that and provide a service like that, that's a highly skilled thing to be able to do. And, it's just really cool that you did that and provided that as an RVT and just, like, lived up to your potential, and it's just really cool.
Yes, it was pretty cool because I had such imposter syndrome of like, can I even do this? It's been so long since I've been able to do this. I have no support system if I need help. But sometimes you have to just walk through the fire and get out on the other side and tell yourself that you can do something. That's the biggest hurdle too, is imposter syndrome is hardcore when you're by yourself and you have no one else to support you. You have to have your own back.
You have to have your own back. That's exactly right. And on that note, you are really passionate about empowering veterinary professionals and as well as empowering us, not only to do things and to live to our potential, but to be able to earn to our potential livelihood and income that we deserve. And I think that's particularly pressing for veterinary technicians. For vets too, yes. But for vet technicians, it's a whole other level of, empowerment needed and action and, some change needed, right? Can you tell me a little bit about your thoughts about that and your experience with those issues?
So I'm a big advocate for having a veterinary technician not make more than $35 an hour. There's no reason why for the amount of schooling that we have, the amount of education, the amount of this experience, a technician shouldn't make less than $35 an hour. So when I started in research, I was making $25 an hour. And then when I moved into private practice, they pay cut me about, I was making 13.25. And then within the first year, we'll get where you were. When I left the practice 6 years later, I was only making $16 an hour. So that was pretty challenging. So I'm a big advocate.
How do you live like that? You can't live like that.
We couldn't. We were literally just picking credit card to credit card, barely making minimum payments on pretty much everything. And it was annoying. So,
Annoying is a way to put it.
uh, yes, I have a lot of ideas of how we can change those things. But it's a lot of it comes down to what the doctors and the practice managers are willing to give up if they don't, because people are leaving in droves because they don't want to just kick their butts, 12 hours a day and get beat up and get screamed at by angry clients for $16 an hour. It's not worth it. Like, honestly, they don't get paid enough to get bitched at that much.
Right.
So, I mean, sure, if I'm making $35 an hour, yeah, I'll make an extra effort to, you know, talk to that client to not get worked up, to invest in my mental health if I need to, but you can't do that when you make $16 an hour. And I understand that obviously every area is different and, whatever, but the grand scheme of things is everyone's underpaid and it's pretty obvious that it's imploding.
It's absolutely imploding. And I think that's part of why what you do is so powerful, that you empower RVTs to become entrepreneurs. But part of that is to dictate how you're paid. One
Mhm.
of the most important things, I think, is to take back the ability to control and dictate your value and what your time is
Yes.
worth. And I love how you do that. I'm very much of the same mind, and I try to do that for vets as well. And to,
Mhm.
you have people who feel guilty charging their worth. You have people who get yelled at by angry clients who don't see the value. They
Yep.
feel entitled to this and that, and have no
Mhm.
what goes into the work we do.
Right.
And the same for you guys, for RVT, what goes into it is above and beyond what meets the eye, like,
Right.
obviously. And so I think, like, I love that we're so aligned, like, fight
Mhm.
for value. You deserve
Right.
to get a living wage, and then some, that's fair.
Mhm. A lot of the questions I get in the course and just from ethics in the movement group already is, how do I know how much to charge? I don't even know what my time is worth. I don't know this. I don't know that. I have a worksheet that I made
Mhm.
that my business coach helped me make. You can figure out your rate and how much money you want to make per year and figure out like an hourly rate. And I obviously I don't charge hourly. I charge by service, which is a little bit different, which is also how you can scale your income is charging by service, not by hour is, once you figure out that number, it's easier to break it down. You don't have to say such a big number. You can break it down into like, how much do I need to make per week? How much do I need to make per month? That way, it's just not such a daunting number for you. So
Right.
you are on your own. You don't have like this big number in your brain of like, break it down so it's not so hard for you. So you can learn how to scale yourself. So you can learn how much to charge. And maybe for the first few clients, you charge less. And then for every other client, thereafter, you charge a little bit more, a little bit more.
Mhm.
There's no right way to do it. There's no set stone way to do it. It's just you
Right.
practice. And then once you get comfortable with that one, then you go up a little bit.
Mhm.
But you don't have to start making $5 an hour for a nail trim. Like it should never be just like a $5 nail trim. That's crazy. And how to scale a nail trim even. It was like level one is easy, level four is difficult.
Right.
I have some level four nail trims that are difficult.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you also have to dictate that for an owner of like, this is what I'm bringing to the table. This is how much it costs to start. And it can, it can be flexible in those types of things. But these are very hard conversations to have when you've never done it before. So
Yep.
one of the things that I love coaching on specifically is how much they should be making. So we can learn how to have those conversations without feeling awkward, but staying confident in what we're doing.
Yeah, I love that. I very much am of the same mind, and I focus on that quite a bit in my course, as well as, on a one-to-one basis. And
Mhm.
that's very cool. You have that chart and, kind of some guidelines like that. That's great. And I mean, you're absolutely right with nail trims. I have a dog that I risk my life every time I trim that dog's
Same.
nails, and I
Same.
charge the hell out of that. I
Yeah.
charge the hell out of that because
Yes.
no, no, you know.
She's on the one client I have, she has a pit bull. She's maybe 50 pounds. And she's every 4 weeks. She's gotten kicked out of pretty much every vet office and every grooming salon, every pet smart.
When I,
She's a trazodone gabapentin. She's 200 milligrams of trazodone, 900 milligrams of gabapentin. It still takes me 20 minutes to get a muzzle on her. I have to lay on top of her. She alligator rolls. Her mom can't help me because she's injured. So it's literally just me. So when it was just me and the mom before she got hurt, it was like a level three nail trim. But now that I have to do it by myself, by the time I'm done healing from the scratches and she bit the crap out of my hand the one day, I'm like, this has changed the dynamic because now I'm doing it by myself. It's a lot more stressful. It's a lot more dangerous for me. Your price has gone up.
yeah,
Like, okay, I understand. So you have to be able to have that conversation of your dog is not easy. So
right,
I have to charge more because it's dangerous. I could literally get hurt
yeah,
doing this. She does need full sedation, but once I get her in a good position, it just takes me a minute to get her there. But usually in 4 weeks, I'm healed and then it's time to do work.
Yeah.
She's my hardest client. She's my hardest client. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, I love her mom, and when she's not ready to kill me, she's the sweetest thing ever.
Yeah.
Just she hears the clink from the Baskerville muzzle, and she's like, "Nope, I have to try to kill you now." So I've learned how to maneuver my body so I could get it on, but not ideal. She doesn't like peanut butter. She doesn't like chicken. We tried all the fear-free things, and it just doesn't work with her.
Right.
And I've tried marshmallow. I literally a
Harsh.
grease thing, everything.
Yeah, you also bring up a good point about the fact that pricing, when you're an entrepreneur and you have a business and you're selling services and you're charging by service, you have to have that flexibility to be able to change and you have to be able to increase prices. And it's very important to do that. Otherwise, your business will go under, you'll go into the red. You
Yeah.
have to be able to have that flexibility around money and charging and to be able to communicate that with people as well.
Especially even with the gas fees, because I have a travel fee and everything has gone up. My service prices have all went up this year because I have to be able to keep up with all of my supplies went up,
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's what at the beginning of the year, I send out all of my clients a message like, hey, prices are going up. This is going to be your new rate for this year. And I didn't get a single person saying, oh, it's not worth it. Okay, I understand. And so it was a very hard conversation to have because I'm like, I've done this in so long because I honestly did raise prices for 4 years because I had people get mad at me.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, now I don't care.
Yeah.
You can go to pet store, you can go wherever you don't have to use me. My pet sitting is extremely expensive because I'm a vet tech. I'm trained in emergency and all of these things. I have a lot of patients that are diabetic. I'm getting some subacute fluids, whatever the case may be. So I'm not going to be the same price as someone on Rover for the kid down the street for a reason.
Right.
You're paying for the experience, you're paying for the accreditation, you're paying for the knowledge. So yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes it's a hard conversation.
it is. It's always a hard conversation. It's never comfortable to talk about money, and at the
But
same
you get used to it,
yeah,
you
you
just
can
get
get used to it. Yeah, yeah,
mhm,
it's true. It's true. It's gotten easier over time. I'll tell you that.
mhm. 'Cause I built that confidence of it, of this is what it's going to be. And if they come back and they fight you a little bit, it's like, you don't have to use me. I
That-
don't have to be the people pleaser I was back in the day.
right, right,
Oh, okay, I'll do it for cheaper just because you're asking. No, this is my price. I'm not changing.
right. I've had to learn that lesson so many times myself. That people pleasing aspect of us and that vet profession. It's no joke, and it costs us the ability to earn a appropriate living if we don't get that squared away. Right.
For sure.
I love that you work with people like that and that, help people with their confidence around those kinds of conversations because they're very, very important. So props to you. I'm super proud of you
Thank you.
every day. So I know this is kind of a random question, but do you have a preference on whether techs are called like nurses or vet techs or something else? I'm aware that's a conversation and I'm curious to just hear your take on it.
Sure. So to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you call us technicians. It doesn't matter, the nurse, but I don't really give a hoot about it. It makes no difference to the public or really nurses anyway. But the debate that is worth having, what is worth fighting for, worth a discussion or new legislation, is the way we teach in our schools, the way we empower veterinary technicians versus threatening them, making them feel stuck when it really just grinds my gears and I get heated about what we can actually do outside the clinic, the ways we can help, the way we can serve, the way we can educate without the four walls. In school, like I said, it's pounded in our heads that we can't do anything without a DBM. Well, we're not allowed to do the surgery, the diagnosing, prescribing of medications. That's pretty much it. But DVMs, licensing boards are so scared of this new thing that we've started. And I'm just challenging them to think outside the box. So people in the Vet Tech Society movement, it's a fire that's catching on. But my passion is to educate versus what we can do versus what we can do outside the clinic. So I feel like a lot of it has to do with education and standardization of the licensing before we worry about really what they're called. I'm more passionate about how we can change the evolution of what we're supposed to be doing and what we're teaching medically. If we're supposed to start all these virtual things and virtual consultations, well, technicians can help, especially with those things. So let's just worry about that before we worry about terminology.
All right. I hear you very much so. And, I'm hearing like California is really tough in terms of like what techs can do. So
Yep.
I feel that hearing you speak and, just thankful that you're in Ohio and it's not this way where you are. But the challenge is real. And I think it would be incredible to have a sort of standardization. I mean, between even like the states for veterinarians too, but
Mhm.
that state-specific stuff is really hairy.
It's
It's
hairy.
really hairy, and it's up for interpretation. It's
Yeah.
clear
Not,
cut.
yeah,
It just what and the difference between the federal and the state, and oh my god.
I know. I have about 8 students in California. Was it their northern, middle, and southern? I get that all the time. Of like, my practice X says this, or for they can't say I'm a technician, it says this. Oregon is another one. Washington's another one where my students come back to me. I'm like, it's tough. It has to change. The
Yeah.
only way to change it, though, is to keep speaking up about it.
Ugh.
So the quieter you are about it, the more it's never going to change. But the more we push and the more we advocate and the more we educate them of like, this is what we can do, that's when things will change. I don't think it's going to be tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be next year, but I've been doing this now for 3 years and it's slowly catching on.
Yeah.
So
The needle's moving.
the
Yeah.
needle's moving somewhere. So hopefully it's just the amount of referrals I get from vets alone, because they just have heard about me through the years. They're just calling veterinary clinics for like vaccine histories and things like that. They've become familiar with me. Like, oh, that's the veterinary technician. Give her a call. So I can get referrals from people I've never even heard of just because it's catching on. And like, well, just call her. So now I have a client base of over 300 clients. It's just me though. So it's amazing. But I was like, I need help now.
Yeah, you're
But
growing.
people love it. They love it because it's just like
Yeah.
convenient and it's just fun for them. It's easier for them. It's less stress. So that's where we can really make a difference is if we just don't stop talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that continuing to talk, continuing to keep the box open and keep the lines of communication open and just education, like you said, spreading awareness. That's where you start. You have to start somewhere, right? And you're
Exactly.
doing an amazing job. And I know a number of vet techs that are, really a fan of you because of how much you empower them and give them sort of like almost validation that they don't get from anywhere else. That
No,
you can do this and you have the right to do it and good for you and,
thank you.
it's amazing. Um, So, before we close up, I wanted to check with you. Is there anything else that you'd like people to know about you or what you have to offer or anything you'd like to say to the world? Any message you'd like to put out there?
The things that are difficult that maybe really aren't difficult, but you're making a mountain out of a molehill. Things really aren't that scary once you start taking action. So the biggest thing would be do something scared. Do it out of faith. Don't do it out of fear. Know that you can do it. Know that it's worth it and know that there will be bumps in the road. It's just how you come out on the other side. When you're older, you'll just regret not doing that one thing that you thought about forever. Like maybe I should have done that. Maybe I should have done this because it can literally change your entire life. Is you're one decision away from changing your life.
Amazing. I love that. Oh, man. So how do people find your course? How do people find your community? How do people
So the community on Facebook is a private group. It's called the Vet Tech Society Movement. It's only for veterinary technicians who have passed the VTNE. And I don't even recommend starting your own business. So you've been in the field for at least 5 years. So you can build your confidence, your restraint skills, because you have to teach owners now how to do this. So I would never recommend, a newbie starting their own business. You have to get the experience, you have to get the lab work, you have to get all of the pieces and parts in your repertoire before you can do it. But that's where I am on Facebook. The VetTechSocietyMovement.com is where my free training webinar is. There's also links to the course. There's also explanations of how I do one-on-one coaching. There is an interview process for the coaching, so that is a separate link that I have to email to you. But if you go to the VetTechSocietyMovement.com, that's where the training lives. And then on Facebook is the Vet Tech Society Movement as well. And just on my regular Facebook page, Serena Pudelski is all of my things. But my free trainings, my little mini courses are on there too in that free private group. They have the big course. I have a quick start. I have how to create digital courses for pet owners and how to just offer strategy sessions for pet owners. So there's a lot of different ways that I can help you if you want it.
if you want it. Yeah. Fantastic. So proud of you. Thank you for, everything you're doing for our profession, for our vet techs, for veterinarians, for animals and pet caregivers and everything. So like
It's
just
an
so
honor.
honored to know you and inspired by you every day. And just wanted to close up our conversation by asking you, what is your favorite beverage?
Diet Coke.
All right.
I miss the dietary Coke. They still make it, but like in the smaller cans and they're more expensive. So I've just downgraded to regular Diet Coke. But yeah, Diet Coke is my like.
It's fantastic.
All right, Serena, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time being here and
Yeah,
for
it's a lot
everything.
of fun.
All right.
Yes, and it's an honor. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the House Call Vet Cafe. If you enjoyed this episode, then hit the subscribe or follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never have to miss an episode. This podcast is made specifically for you, so don't be shy if you'd like to reach out and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook as the House Call Vet Academy, where I also share more valuable content. If you're interested in learning more about consulting for House Call Vets or the House Call Vet Academy online course and community, please click on the link in the show notes. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I can't wait for you to join us for our next episode of the House Call Vet Cafe.
If you're looking for help with ultrasound scanning, check out First Opinion Veterinary Ultrasound for independent machine reviews and online and in-person teaching options. FOVU, simplifying ultrasound.